Welcome to Money Mondays, and if you don't know who I am, my name is JD Bolvedin. I'm the CEO and founder of Tillery Success Solutions, the largest real estate consulting company on the East Coast, and I have a special treat for you today. I got my good friend Billy Alvaro, and Billy's story is very interesting because he's had ups and downs, but the guy is sky high now, building his real estate investing empire. Billy, thank you so much, man.
Thanks for having me, JB. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Looking handsomer than ever.
I appreciate that, but no one looks better than you, bro.
I appreciate that, bro.
So I wanted like basically everyone who's watching really get a chance to like know who you are, know the story.
Right.
You know, before we fast forward to just like a brief piece, like where you're at today is not necessarily where it started because you have a large flipping operation, wholesaling operation, growing your own construction company. Title too?
Title, I actually just parted ways.
Okay,
I had the title company, but 2020 was the year of change.
So like you really consolidated, but now you're starting to really like dominate and scale. But to kind of go into it, like when you were younger, when you were just first coming up, was real estate something appealing to you? Like what was Billy on the come? What was Billy, like teenage Billy going to his early 20s? What did that look like?
So good question. I think when I was a kid, I've always had that entrepreneur spirit inside me. I was selling firecrackers when I was 8 years old. I was picking up the ones that didn't explode, selling them for a nickel to the kids in the neighborhood. True story. Then I went to buying mats of firecrackers for like $4. I would parse them out, make $20 on it. That's when I was 12 years old. I sold bubble gum in high school, sold some weed. Like I did different things as an entrepreneur. So buying and selling, I think it's always been in my blood. And I think it's just because I resonate with people and I had to read people and I had to understand how to speak to them the way they want to be spoken, not the way I want to get spoken to. And real estate though, believe it or not, when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old, that range, I saw an infomercial on TV, Dave Delgado. Kind of had a mustache like yours, big and black, right? Except his was like bushy and shit. And he used to come on with this flowered shirt from Hawaii, and he would talk about how he bought property, no money down, and at the closing table, these were rentals by the way, not flips. At the closing table, how he walked out with a check of $6,000 and $8,000, and I was like intrigued, like literally like I was intrigued. Bought a course, tried to go to his seminar, but my mother didn't want to pay for it. I was young and she's like, it's a scam.
How much was the seminar at the time?
The seminar, and I'm going back, it was a couple $100. It was like a $395 weekend, $495 weekend. It's a scam, they're gonna take your money. So I bought Carlton Sheets' course. I bought a couple of other courses. I bought his book, what's his name that I just mentioned, and it was just like, that was my start to really get into this, but it took me years to actually start getting into it, and it's a whole nother story, but it was like, sometimes your mind, self-limiting beliefs, you want to do something, but you do actions that don't really make you money, like you get a business card, you get a little business that's incorporated, but you do nothing with it.
Right.
And so that was part of the challenge I had as a kid. Once I broke through that self-limiting belief, fear, then I started really rolling and making some serious cash.
And what was the first serious cash move?
So the big money move was when I opened up the mortgage company. That was my big money move. But I did a few real estate flips before that. I bought my first house when I was 19. Mom and dad helped me out with a few $1,000s instead of me going to college. They gave me a loan for that. I think it was like $2,500. I got an FHA loan. That was my first one. Then I bought a 2-family in Florida. And then I rolled that 2-family into another one. And then in Florida, like I'm a big believer. Certain people come into your life at certain times in your life. And if you're open enough to realize they're there for a reason, it could literally shift you into a completely different direction. So I went down there to become a cop, went through the police academy because I was a cop up here for a little bit, went through the police academy. Something told me not to take the job. Like I was having hardcore dreams of like, I couldn't shoot the guy. And I'm like, all right, this is telling me something, like I'm on to the wrong path. So I just quit. Didn't take it and started bartending. And like everybody thought I was a loser because I went from being a cop, now I'm a bartender, what do you do with yourself? But that bartending job set me up to meet the right people to put me on the path to financial freedom. It was that job where I met this guy, Kelly, who was a bookie and a drug dealer. He used to come to the bar every night at 7 o'clock with 640. And Kelly took a liking to me, and he's like, look, you shouldn't be behind this bar, man. You have too much value. But I was 20-something years old, slinging drinks, getting laid, having fun, like doing a lot of things that 23-year-olds want to do.
Yeah.
But he was persistent. He met this guy, Robert, who was looking for a protege, and Kelly's like, look, give this guy a call. And that's when phones were this big. He put it under the bar. It's like satellite phone, call this guy up. And for 30 days, I kind of pushed away because I didn't I didn't have college. I didn't have any financial education, and yet he saw something in me and he pushed, and it was finally that 30-day mark. He's like, look, I'm gonna break your neck if you don't pick up the phone and call this guy. Like, at least give it a shot. And that was like, looking back, that was the moment that shaped my life. Like, literally changed my life forever. That one decision. Calling that guy Robert, meeting with him, going through his whatever. He had like a little seminar at his house at 8 o'clock in the morning. That decision completely changed everything.
Wow. So what did he go over? What would you get exposed to?
Well, he exposed, he was a mortgage broker. He was looking for a young protege. And he's like, look, you can do this, this, and this. I was in a room with guys that had jackets on and suits and older women. And I'm like, I'm this young kid, punk kid. Like, what am I fucking doing here? Like, I had that self-doubt started popping back into my head. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then I started listening to him. And he's like, you don't need college and you don't need this. And I'm like, I could do this. So I pulled him to the side. I go, Rob, how much money did you make this past year? And I think it was like 150,000. And back in like 93, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I looked at him and I said, not that he was a bad guy, but he just wasn't, he didn't have that personality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if this guy's making 150, I can make $500,000 quick. Like, I know I can master this thing. So I told him, look, if you train me for 1 year, I will dedicate my life to you. You train me, teach me everything you know, I will go out, get you business. I don't want $1, not a nickel. I'll give it all to you, but after 1 year, I'm out. I'm gonna go do my own thing. By month 10 or 11, he's like, you proved yourself, man. Like, go do your shit. And I just went out and started busting it up. Like, I was making serious loot at a young age.
Wow.
20, 30, 40, 50 G's a month.
Wow. And
As a
like,
loan officer, not owning it, as a loan officer.
And you're like 23 at the time?
No, so that was when I started making that money. That was 23, 24 years old, and then I got into the mortgage business full time after I quit. It was probably like 26, 27.
So at this point, you're very happy you're not a cop.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
And you're living where at this time?
I was in Florida. I was in Pompano Beach.
So during that time, you're still in Florida doing loans there. So now you're a loan officer working under a bank or a brokerage at the time. Which
Brokerage at the time.
A brokerage, slaying it, and now you're saying, oh, I want to open up my own deal now?
Well, it's like funny. I'm not going to go through the whole story, but I told somebody who's a childhood friend what I was doing. He got a job up here in New York. He recruited me to come up here, convinced the owner of that company to make me a partner in the Florida company. So I had a branch in Florida that I was a 25% owner in, and that just, again, it's just you go on certain paths, opportunities present themselves. It's if you don't have if you don't have a drive and you don't know where you want to go, when an opportunity presents itself, you're not going to know to take it. Every time an opportunity was put in front of me, I looked at it, I assessed it, I'm like, this is the right move, and I would hit it. And every time I did that, like magic would happen. Like just magic, good stuff would happen in my life.
So, I mean, then that's an incredible opportunity because you go from bartender.
Yeah.
And then
making maybe, 35, 40 G's a year.
To making more than that in a month usually now.
Yeah.
So essentially you're getting your annual salary every month at this point.
Correct. I was living large. I was having a lot of fun.
So, and it's crazy too because someone who's a bookie is the one who actually inspired you.
And a coke dealer.
Yeah.
And a coke dealer. Look, some people are like, the guy's a loser. The guy was actually very successful in his younger years. He came into some hard times. And he was a street guy, and he just knew how to hustle a buck for himself. I didn't judge him.
Yeah.
I might have go from him once or twice, maybe. Kidding. But he was the type of guy where he knew talent, and because of him, he ended up dying of brain cancer a couple of years after that. But he just literally put me on the path to this.
And then from there, what was your pitch back then? So you're going, because as a police officer to a bartender, now you're in the mortgage business. They're very different jobs as you transition. It's kind of like this. How do you get that sales process going? What were you doing to actually get business? Like, how was it? Like, now it's like, all right, congratulations, go write some mortgages. What was like your first step to start getting deals?
I would talk to everybody. So, you have to have a personality, and I'm like a chameleon. So all those different jobs, police officer, you have to act differently. Behind the bar, you're charismatic. You want to get, in order to extract tips out of people, you have to know how to connect with them, how to make them feel good about themselves. The more you make somebody feel good about themselves as a bartender, they're going to hate you, unless they're a cheap bastard. And then it's the same thing with mortgages. Like, I looked at what Robert was doing, and back then, Robert was all referrals, 100%. There was no marketing, there was no BS. It was hit the streets, get the bag of donuts for the realtors, court them, see if you can get some loans. So I looked at that, and I'm like, I like the model of mortgages, but I don't like the model of this begging for business type thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to kiss somebody's ass to get a deal.
Agreed.
So from there, I started looking, and I'm like, how do I start getting this business built? and I happened to fall upon Dan Kennedy, direct response marketing. So I started studying Dan Kennedy on what he was doing, then Jay Abraham, and a lot of the greats on how to do copywriting and offline marketing and direct sales and how to write sales letters and how to lead generate. And that training, and that's when the internet just started coming into play, that training really catapulted me when I decided to open up my own mortgage business. Because people are like, how in the hell, what's your secret? How did you start making so much money? And there's a million different steps that we had to take. But the key thing, any business that I'm in, I'm really in the marketing business first.
Yeah.
I'm a marketer of whatever business I'm in. Mortgages, title, real estate, raising capital, finding buyers for my deals, getting deals from sellers. So I'm in the business of marketing, and I became very good at getting the phone to ring. I mean, even now, we're in one of the toughest markets in New York and New Jersey. It's tough. The volume is very, the houses on the market very low. There's no volume out there. Everybody's scratching for a deal.
Oh, yeah.
We're still pulling in 19, 20 deals a month, all because of the marketing systems that we put together.
That's insane.
It's insane. And with an average deal of $40,000 on average, some are 65, some are 30, with a $40,000, $45,000 average, we're pulling in future cash. $600,000 to $800,000 a month is what we're putting into the pipeline that's going to future fund.
Totally. I mean, you got good margins because a lot of guys now, what they're doing is they're just doing deals to just keep their guys busy so they don't lose them for later.
No.
They're not making really any money.
I know. A lot of guys do that.
Yeah.
So something like we do wholesale, we do renovations. And I'll look at a property, and if we get it on the contract, I'll look, what can we make on the renovation side? And then I'll say, Joe, just for shits and giggles, he's one of the guys in the back office, put it out, let's see what we can get this property for sold. Sometimes I'm making more on the wholesale than I would if I could renovate myself. And I don't know how these guys are buying it. I know they're not, some of them are not making money. Some of them just, like you said, they're keeping the guys busy, but that's not my model.
Right.
If they want to pay it, they can pay it. If some guys buy the way I buy and they're like, I can't, the deal doesn't make any sense. Other guys are like, yo, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the person's buying cycle and how they calculate the deals, what they look for. Are they going to buy and hold it? Do they use their own money? Do they have their own guys on staff that are doing the work, the construction work? But it's just, the market's crazy right now. You know that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But finding deals is hard.
Very hard. It's never been harder, I think,
Yeah.
because how are you going to make money if you're buying a deal at 85 cents on the dollar or 90 cents on the dollar? So we go back a little bit. So now you're doing your own thing. You have your own mortgage company, and the first time as an owner as a mortgage company, you were partners. You weren't solo, right? So you
Always had a partner.
Okay, you had a partner. You had your branch in Florida, and you had a branch in New York, or?
So the branch in Florida, I was partners in the branch, not the business. So it was almost like a net branch.
Okay.
And then from there, that led us to saying, you know what, we're doing so well at this. We approached the owner, and rightfully so, he didn't want to cut us into his business. So we decided to go out. I got my license underneath my name, and we recruited like 6 guys out of that office, and we just started making deals happen. And I remember sitting down, it was me, my partner John, and like 2 or 3 other guys, and we had a small office on 350 Motor Parkway, and it was a sublease, and I think we were paying like $600 a month in rent. And we had no idea. I knew mortgages. I had no clue how to start and grow a business. Never did it before. Like, talking about being brand new, I had no clue what the hell I was doing. Made every mistake possible, hired the wrong people, but the one thing we knew how to do was sell. And we just sold, and we kept on selling. And we went from 50 G's a month to 125 a month to 300 a month to $1 million a month to $2 million a month to $3.5 million a month. Like, it just started to roll. And it was a good run. It was a good run.
So you're very good at filling the glass.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So now, as this thing is growing, it's expanding. I mean, you went from probably 6 LOs to where you at now at this point.
So at the height, we had 950, we call them associates in the company, nationally in 42 states.
Wow.
Yeah, it was big. Wow. But truth be told, it was like too big, because when you grow that fast over 6.5, 7 years, it's a lot to assimilate into one business. And the mistakes we made is because I wasn't a business guy back then. Made a lot of mistakes. Very good with sales and marketing, horrible on the operational side. Like, horrible. Basically, we imploded ourselves. The operations, we had disjointed systems. We didn't have a process or a system written out that everybody followed, unlike what my business is today. It is like streamlined, systematized, and process flowed. Back then it was a free-for-all, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And by the time I realized it on what I needed to do, it was too late. The market was starting to crash. We raised a ton of money. We were going public, and the whole thing just kind of spun out of control.
And it just imploded from there.
Overnight, yeah. $14 million in debt in in like a year's time frame. Went from making it to losing it to being bankrupt.
So you went to negative 14 million.
Yeah, I had the debt over my head, on my shoulders. I was like 14 million in debt. It was quite the challenge.
So how'd you get out of that hole?
Whole nother story. Whole nother story. That was a 3-year process of just me wanting to commit suicide, me going from feeling extremely strong to extremely weak. Again, mindset thing.
Yeah.
Self-limiting beliefs, just a lot of fear and doubt crept into my head. But I got myself out of it. And once I realized that I could fight this and I could get through this, I made good with the individuals that I owed personal money to, because that was important to me.
Yeah.
Anybody that like believed in me, that put money in. I had this one guy, Richard, he put in $1 million. He's a 3rd generation business owner. He put $1 million in because he believed in me. So I made sure that guy got his money back. There were like 3 or 4 other individuals that put money in. It was my mission to get them paid back. And then over a 6-year time frame, I had to just unwind. It took a long time, 6 years by the time the whole thing was said and over, from when it closed to when I actually got out of it. But then I just, I went to court. I started fighting my own. I fired all my attorneys. I bought a course online called Jurisdictionary, how to represent yourself in court and win. And I studied it, fired the attorneys, went to court, and over a 2-year time frame, I got the 14 million down to 2 million.
Wow.
And then from the 2 million, I filed bankruptcy.
Boom.
Yeah, done. But the important thing was making sure that the people, the individuals, not the Chase Manhattans or the Bank of America, like that's business.
Yeah.
But somebody who gave me a handshake and says, yo, I believe in you, I'm gonna put in $500,000. Those people, I did whatever the hell I needed to do to get them paid off.
That's
so
incredible.
if I see them out, if I go to a party, if I go to a restaurant, I don't have to be like, oh my God, this guy is here. I owe this guy $500,000. I fucking filed bankruptcy. Like if I see him, I can shake his hand and be like, yo, how you doing? And he'll look at me and be like, that guy knows exactly what he's doing.
So basically now, you fought it off in court, you paid everyone back. How did you generate the money to pay everyone back? What was that? Because it's not like you were out and then all of a sudden you're back in making a lot of money. What happened there?
Yeah, so to get the people paid back, I had to really start doing a lot of hustle. And I went to Florida, I started doing mortgages, not getting really paid. I made a commitment, like if the money came in, it would go to somebody else. I had land that I had to peel off. Took me a little bit of time to get it approved, peeled it off, got them paid back. So when I was $14 million in debt with the business, I still had some assets that were protected that I needed to liquidate. And over the 3-year time frame, that's what I did. And I just liquidated certain things, and money that came in, I made sure it got allocated to certain people. And I was going through, it was probably a good solid 4 years that it took me to break out of that, and then another 2 with the court system to file bankruptcy and get out of that. It was a tough 6-year stretch, man.
Yeah.
But the first 3 years is when I really just buried my head in the sand. I couldn't really get out of my own way. And then it was July 4th, 2009. That's when I realized I'm gonna get into this real estate game. I was with my ex-wife at the time, and she asked me some hard questions. And I sat there, it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I was pissed drunk already because I was hitting it hard.
In the morning?
In the morning.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and I probably didn't shower for 4 days at that point. Like I was just a disgusting mess. But the awakening happened for me. Like my whole life came back into focus that day when I realized the real estate investment was gonna be my ticket. I didn't know how. I didn't know, how I was gonna raise the money, how I was gonna put deals together, how I was gonna get deals to come in, but I knew the what. The what was real estate, and I knew the why, because I had no fucking choice. And once that came into play, and I knew what I was gonna do, it's like I had complete focus on where I was going, and nothing else mattered. The court cases were still there. I still had all these legal issues I was dealing with, had a whole shitload of mess. But when I was in my mode to get my real estate investing thing set up, and if it was 6 hours a day or 4 hours a day or 8 hours, or whatever time I could allocate, nothing else mattered. And then once I put that off, I would unlock the box of all the bullshit, and then I would have to deal with it. It's like I have an innate ability just to box things up, stuff them in the back of my head, and keep them there until I need to tap them forward.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, what I'm reading from all this is basically, it's not what you did, it's who you are. Kind of like, real estate was your vehicle, but your ability to connect with people, to be able to go out to the marketplace again, like to go to negative 14 million and go through that rough patch and go, okay, I'm going to go out and basically a cash-intensive business, a capital-intensive business, which is real estate investing.
Yeah.
And were you very liquid at the time when you were about to do these deals?
No, I had no money.
So
I had no money.
How did you do that first deal? How did you pull that off?
Yeah, so the first thing I did is I looked at where the market was, and the market was, everybody was running away from the fire because the market was imploding, right? It was 2008, 2009, July 4th. So everybody was like, foreclosures happening, short sales happening. So I looked at where can I make money in the market that I'm currently in? And I said, okay, it's gonna be REOs and short sales. And so I owned a bank, I owned a title company, so I understood that whole part of the business. But then I went and I bought courses online. I just said, okay, what do I need to shortcut my process here? I bought like 3, 4, 5 courses, sat down, read them, studied them, understood them, and then basically took from the 4 or 5 guys that I studied and made it my own. And I just started executing and implementing like a freaking beast. Like my back was against the wall. I had no money left. I had no choice but to like implement. And if it meant working till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I did it. Whatever I needed to do legally and ethically to make the money and to get this thing going, I did it. So once I focused on the short sales and I focused on the REOs, I said, all right, how do I get the money? I just dialed for dollars. I found people who had money and I would just call. And I'm like, look, the one thing I was 100% transparent. Here's my story. Here's what I built. Here's what I did. Here's where I am now. This is my vision for where I want to go. Like I was just me. And it connected with one guy, it connected with 2 guys, it connected with 3 people, and that was my seed capital. And the first guy, Lenny, who's still with me now, still my lender, still lends me money. I never negotiated in 12 years, I never negotiated this guy's fees, his rates or his fees. And he's like, you know, you're paying me, this was like 3 years ago, he's like, you're paying me a lot of money. And I'm like, I know. He goes, why didn't you ever renegotiate? I go, Len, you believed in me at a point where nobody else did. I will never renegotiate. If you want to lower your fees, I'm not going to argue, but I'm never going to ask you to lower your fees. And he's like, I'm going to lower my fees. And he did it again just like 6 months ago. He's like, you know, the rate you're paying still a little high, and his rates are still higher than everybody else's, but I have like this allegiance to him because the fucking guy helped me when I was at my lowest point.
Wow.
You know, like he's a good man.
Yeah. And
then I was able to repay him back. He got himself into a jam with the real estate investor when the deal went south. I'm like, I'll handle it. I'm not going to charge anything. I'll take care of the rehab. We'll put money in your pocket. And I think just when you do that to people, when you do it for people and don't expect anything in return, it kind of just, it comes back to you like tenfold. They realize what you're about.
Yeah.
But he was my start. The other guy was my start. He was my first number one. And then it was just dial for dollars. Be real, tell the story, be transparent. And I think if, you know, your listeners, if they want to do something, they just need to make the decision to do it and then put your blinders on and get to work and make shit happen. It's not gonna be easy.
No.
I had days I didn't want to get out of bed. I had days where it wasn't like the 14 million was off my back and everything was peachy rosy and life was good. I had major shit challenges every day, but I couldn't allow it to dictate what my future was gonna be. It was the now, it wasn't the tomorrow.
Right, that's incredible. So now that kind of leads us to where we are today. So at this point, you probably realize from the mortgage side, okay, I'm good at pumping the pipeline up, but not a good operations or business person. I'm assuming that now going into this, you're evolving into a good both, right? Business 100%, and salesperson.
100%, yeah. Yeah, so when I got into this business and I made my mind up, I looked back and I just looked at not my wins, I looked at all my losses, all my failures, all my fuck-ups on a 10-year span, and I go, what did I do wrong? Why did I do that? What did it happen? What did I not have? What did I do incorrectly? What decisions did I make? What people did I have around me? And I just kind of came up with like, I can't even tell you how many, just a shit ton of things that when I start my next business, I have to do things differently. And one of the ones was systematizing the business on the operational side. I wasn't worried about sales and marketing. I can sell anything, I can market. How am I gonna get it set up so when I turn the spigot, I turn this thing on, I'm gonna be able to handle it and handle it to where it's systematized. And I spent the first 4 years of this business making money doing it, but focusing day and night on this system, and then what is the right personality I need to plug in to that particular position. And like, I'm meticulous about how I hire, who I hire, the hurdles they have to go through, the process flow. And this is not my personality style. Naturally, I'm a sales guy. I'm a big picture guy. I hate detail. I get bogged down with all the little pieces. So it wasn't my sweet spot. I wasn't working to my genius when I was doing this. So it used to frustrate me. And then what I realized is I don't have to do this. I have to hire people on my team who have that innate ability to do it. And I got a team now, man. I have a team on the front end sales where not only are they good salespeople, the guy running it, he could systematize, strategize, process flow, streamline anything on the front end with sales, with the sales part, he takes care of. Marketing, I still do. I haven't handed that off yet. And then back in operations, I did it and I handed it off, and it's a fluid machine. Not perfect. Every week we have something else that pops up that we identify, we put it onto the list, and then once a quarter we implement, make sure that we get things smoother. But it's a never ending journey. It's always something going on to fix the business, grow the business, streamline the business. It never ends.
Well, it sounds like the roller coasters are over. Now you've been doing this. It doesn't seem like this anymore. Once you
Correct.
started like going into this new journey after the mortgages, it's just been kind of going up and up and up. And
Yeah.
and you capitalized, man, during COVID. I mean, a lot of people, especially initially, when they were kind of like backing up and retreating, I just saw you like hammer down, and I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but these last like 12 months have probably been, is it the best year?
So actually a little bit different. So when COVID first hit, because I lived through what I went through when I lost the business, I took a position where I'm not going to lose the business. So I like locked myself in my home office, and for 2 days, I looked at my P&L and I whacked out $72,000 or $76,000 of expenses monthly. Like immediately cut everything, froze everything, because I didn't know where this whole COVID thing was going to shake out. And then instead of me doubling down and increasing my marketing, I actually did the opposite. I looked at how much money was I spending, how many leads do we have in our pipeline. I didn't want to stop the business, so what I did is I stopped marketing for new leads, but I went full force on the marketing that we had in our database, and we pulled out deals that were sitting there. Gold was sitting in our database. We just mined our own database. We hired a shit ton of telemarketers, a bunch of people to text, a bunch of people to call, a bunch of people to email, and we went from doing 15, 18 deals a month pre-COVID, went down to about 10 deals a month, but I had zero marketing dollars. Zero.
So it's more efficient than the way it was
100%.
before.
And it only lasted a certain amount of time.
Sure.
It lasted right till about December of this past year. And then in December, October, November, December, we went into full force. All right, this is what next year is going to look like. And myself and Justin and the team, we just started hiring the right people, added a couple more systems. And now in this market, tough market, by the way. Like, it is not easy to take down profitable deals. Easy to get a deal.
Yeah.
Not so easy to get profitable deals. You know, we're pulling in a nice 18, 19, 20 deals a month.
You'll work hard for those deals too.
Oh yeah, the team works.
So, you know, it's funny, I love this one video when you pull your pants down.
That was a training video.
Yeah,
That was
a training video, yeah.
Oh my God, man.
But that
I yacked him down.
But that wasn't a simulation. That was a real deal thing.
That was a real deal. So you watched that video? It's so
Yeah.
funny. So that was a deal in, so that whole purpose of that video is we had an unsellable seller. The guy wanted to sell, but he was one of these guys, we knew it was a deal, and I wanted to teach him, like, you know, Nicole, fire this up. This is gonna be I have no idea what's gonna happen, but let's just get it on camera to see where this thing goes. And this guy wanted to sell his property, called us up, confirmed the appointment. We drove an hour to get down. Now I'm training Nicole. This is me going back out in the field, which I hated doing it, but I love doing it because it's like I'm back at my roots selling.
Yeah.
So we went out there, and you know, I'm knocking on the door, and Nicole's there, and make a long story short, he wouldn't answer. And just by understanding the psychology of people, I had to do a pattern interrupt and literally break his pattern on the third time. We were there for an hour and a half before he even came out. And he would answer, I'll be out in a second, he would go back upstairs. And I found that this guy, he was a hoarder. And usually hoarders have some sort of, you know, mental, not a problem, but there's something inside that's broken, right? And I needed to connect with this guy, and I just instantaneously, this guy was standing there in his fucking underwear at the door, and he's like, I'll be out in a second. I'm like, you said it 3 times. It's gone far enough. I don't think, you know what? How about if I yank my pants down too? He's like, what? I'm like, I'm gonna yank my pants down. I threw him down to my fucking ankles, and I'm standing there, you know, balls hanging out, and he's like, what the fuck is going on here? But I did a pattern interrupt. And at that moment, I connected with this guy, and within 10 minutes he was outside. He sat there, and we shot the whole thing. It was like a 2-hour video that I cut down to like 8 or 9 minutes. And we showed him going through the process. We showed him being a reluctant seller, to giving us his story, to crying, to being like, all right, I want to get this over with. You know, he lost his wife, he lost his father, cancer, and like the guy was just mentally just beat up.
Yeah.
And, you know, so the purpose of that video was never take no for an answer, And if you know you have a deal, you have to go about it in a different way, and you have to do pat interrupts and understand the person's personality. No means no sometimes, but when it comes to a seller, if they're not telling you, fuck you, really no, and they're just like, there's something there, you have to like find out, peel back the onion and figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what we talk about here when we do sales training, which is a good salesperson doesn't take a solid no and convert it to a yes. It takes that and is very good at converting that to a yes.
And that's it.
Yeah, so and and I love what you did there, because I think there's very few people that could actually have pulled it off and gotten that guy to agree with that sale.
Yeah. And not only, I mean, he agreed, he signed,
Yeah.
like he went through the whole process, the whole gamut. It was, and I'm glad we got it on film, because like I was teaching my guys in the office, I'm like, look, you're gonna have people who really do wanna sell, but they don't know, like, or trust you yet. And they're gonna be, it's very easy to say, nah, not right now. It's very easy to say that. But for you to break through and get them to at least open up, you have to do things differently.
Yeah.
And that whole underwear thing, it just popped in my head. I mean, I have to get to his level. And when he saw me do that, he's like, dude, you are crazy. But then he laughed his ass off, and I just led him right outside. I'm like, come outside, talk to us. And he sat there for 45 minutes in his underwear in his patio, outside in his chair. It was hysterical. It was kind of funny.
So in closing, because I mean, I could talk to you for hours about this stuff. I love this. And you just have a lot of gems here too. Someone was looking to really get started, because like, look, 2009 was a hard time, and now 2021 is a hard time. It's just for different reasons.
Yeah.
If you're looking to invest in real estate, especially to flip, rehab.
Yeah, it's hard to find deals right now.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who's brand new, looking to get started? What would be like the steps they need to take to make their first deal a successful one?
So, you know, I think the old tired and true, with how I started, and it still holds true today, it's you want to go where the low-hanging fruit is. And if you're trying to do what everybody else does, if you're going out there and hitting the non-owner occupied or high equity lists, like everybody and their mother is hitting those lists. If you want to get started, find the deals that have low-hanging fruit. To me, that was vacant houses or dilapidated houses. It still holds true today, because if somebody's already moved out of their house, or if somebody passed away and the house is vacant, it's a very easy sell to convince somebody to say, hey, your house is vacant, you're sitting there, you're paying taxes, or you're not paying taxes, you're gonna lose it. Why don't you just sell the property and put some cash in your pocket, versus begging somebody who really doesn't want to sell to try to sell the property. So vacant properties, dilapidated properties, driving for dollars. A lot of people out there would disagree and be like, it's a waste of time. But if I was brand new and had no money, I would invest time into doing that, because it's going to yield a deal. And I've done a lot of other training videos like that, where I would drive by, see a crap house, get out, knock on the door, person comes to the door, and I'm like on video showing them, this is not hard. You connect, you talk, you're not gonna close the person there, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
Over 3 months, 6 months, those deals actually yield out and they close. But those have been one of my, if not biggest deals. They've been fat 5 and 6 figure deals, vacants or dilapidated, knocking for dollars, driving for dollars, and telemarketing. It doesn't cost anything but time. Now, if you had money, it's a whole different game. Put your money behind marketing, learn how to do direct response marketing, understand how to buy your list, how to niche down your list, how to target your people, set up a call center, get the calls answered. But if you're brand new, get a deal in your bill. I told my students when they were doing this, I'm like, look, if you're gonna start doing this, go door knocking. Like, Kirby's salespeople were the best salespeople out there, because you had to knock on hundreds of doors a day. Go knock on doors. Get used to having people slam that door in your face. Get used to people saying, who the hell, get off my property. Because the more you get rejected, the more you're gonna build that callus on your skin, where it's not gonna affect you. Yeah. In the beginning, very few people are natural born salespeople, but I think over time, those that are not natural born, if they get used to rejection, they callous up, and then it becomes like secondhand nature to them.
Yeah, that's great advice. And honestly, I think people just gotta get used to the quantity before they get the quality, and then just be persistent with it. That's
and
awesome.
Then a lot of guys would disagree. They're like, vacant house is a waste of time. But if you're brand new and you have no money, telemarket or vacant house.
Plus, if you're good at sales, I mean, you can put everything else together anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, if you got nothing to work with and you don't want to work either, what the hell is left to work with anyway?
Right.
So
Right.
That's kind of like the way to do it. But no, I love that. It's good advice, and I really hope people listen to it, because I think everyone looks for sauce, and I always tell people, if you got nothing to cook it with, sauce is useless.
Yeah.
So you got to have some good ingredients in addition to sauce. So you just gave the ingredients, and then the sauce will be when they have a system in place, putting that system together. So, Billy, Always inspiring. Really loved having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Appreciate coming out, bro.
So stay tuned for next week for Money Mondays. We created this for one reason only. It's to help you grow your business. Whether you're just starting or you're on the come up, bottom line is you have a friend, you have someone in your corner, and we're going to be here delivering it every time. Until next time.